For both volunteer and career firefighters, one of the most dreaded experiences on the fire ground is hearing a mayday call. A mayday call means that a fellow firefighter is in serious trouble and needs help immediately. For firefighters in distress, their best hope of surviving the incident is being found and brought out before they run out of breathing air. In this program, we will present information on Rapid Intervention Team search and rescue operations. The training objectives are to show how a Rapid Intervention Team functions inside the hazard zone, to describe how Rapid Intervention Teams locate firefighters in distress, to see how to perform an initial assessment of a downed firefighter, to describe air supply considerations for trapped firefighters, and to show a variety of rescue techniques. When a Rapid Intervention Team has been ordered into the hazard zone to search for a firefighter in distress, they must first confirm what is known and not known about the situation. Next, they must quickly check each other's PPE to make sure they are ready to enter the hazard zone. They should verify that all gear is on properly, their SCBA is functioning, and their pass devices are turned on. Then, when the Rapid Intervention Team enters the hazard zone, it is critically important that they continue to function as a team. This means staying in voice or visual contact with each other and in radio contact with those outside the hazard zone. Depending upon local SOPs, the Rapid Intervention Team may or may not use a tagline to make finding their way out easier. If they do use a tagline, one end should be tied to a solid object at the entrance to the hazard zone, and the rope paid out as they progress into the hazard zone. If all members of the Rapid Intervention Team have portable radios, one member should be designated to transmit for the team. The other members' radios must have the volume turned down fully to avoid feedback between radios when one member attempts to transmit. If the approximate or specific location of the firefighter in distress is known, the Rapid Intervention Team need not follow normal search patterns, but should proceed directly to the firefighter. If the distressed firefighter's location is unknown or uncertain, the Rapid Intervention Team can use a variety of techniques to help them locate the firefighter. For example, they can attempt to contact the firefighter in distress by radio.
Firefighter Jones, this is Rick 1. Can you describe your location?
If they make contact, the firefighter may be able to guide them to his or her location.
Firefighter Jones, I'm located in the CB corner of the structure.
If radio contact is not made, the Rapid Intervention Team can follow a tagline left by the first entry team. The Rapid Intervention Team can also follow a hose line left by the first entry team. Another technique is to stop and listen intently for the sound of an operating pass device, tapping noises coming from pipes, floors, ceilings, or walls, or shouts for help. As they search, the Rapid Intervention Team should stop occasionally and cease all activity, even their own breathing, to listen for sounds from the distressed firefighter. The Rapid Intervention Team should look carefully for discarded tools and equipment. The Rapid Intervention Team should continually look toward the ceiling for the beam from the distressed firefighter's flashlight. Another tool that the Rapid Intervention Team can use to look for the distressed firefighter is a thermal imaging camera. In many cases, an entire room can be scanned from the doorway. Even though thermal imaging cameras cannot detect heat sources such as firefighters that are behind or under solid objects, they can still increase the efficiency of any interior search. When you have located a downed firefighter, notify the IC through the chain of command. This may involve reporting to a rescue sector officer or rescue group supervisor, or it may mean calling the IC directly. The notification should include the number of firefighters found and their general condition or situation. In other words, are they injured or not? And are they able to walk out on their own, or do they need to be extricated?
Unconscious and injured at this time.
Go ahead, Rit1.
This will let the IC know if all missing firefighters have been found, or if the search needs to continue. It will also let him or her know what, if any, additional resources may be needed to get the firefighter out.
Library command received.
If the located firefighters are merely lost or disoriented, they can be led out of the hazard zone. Once outside, their fitness for reassignment to this incident can be evaluated. Their physical, psychological, and emotional condition should be assessed. If the downed firefighter is conscious but incapacitated by injury or entrapment, tell him or her to remain calm because you will get them out. If the downed firefighter's location is in danger of being overrun by the fire, additional hose lines should be positioned between the fire and that location. If the downed firefighter's location is threatened by structural collapse, emergency shoring should be installed to reduce the threat. If these mitigation measures are not readily available, you may have to risk doing further injury by immediately moving the firefighter in order to save his or her life. If the downed firefighter is located in an area that is not immediately threatened, check his or her air supply, and if necessary, supply air from an SCBA or a cylinder that you brought in with you. Call for a litter and any other resources you will need to rescue the downed firefighter.
Yeah, we need a litter and air supply down to this location immediately. Sir, yeah. Very happy over here. Is this sir, yeah? Your shoulders all right?
While waiting for the litter, continue to assess the firefighter's condition by performing a total body exam and treating any injuries that you can. If the downed firefighter is unconscious, start to assess his or her ABCs by doing a shake and shout. If there is no response, check his or her breathing by holding your breath and placing your ear close to the downed firefighter's regulator. If he or she is breathing, you should be able to hear the airflow through the regulator. Check the firefighter's circulation by palpating either the carotid or radial artery. If the firefighter is not breathing and has no pulse, defibrillate and begin CPR if conditions allow. Continue CPR as the firefighter is carried out of the hazard zone. A firefighter in a toxic atmosphere, such as a smoke-filled space, must have a reliable supply of breathing air if he or she is to function safely and effectively. According to NFPA statistics, smoke inhalation is second only to cardiac arrest as a cause of firefighter fatalities in structure fires. A trapped or unconscious firefighter who runs out of breathing air in a smoke-filled space is in a truly life-threatening situation. Firefighters in these situations must be moved out of the toxic atmosphere immediately, or they must be provided with a continuous supply of breathing air. Even though both NIOSH and NFPA now recommend against so-called buddy breathing, there are a number of ways to supply breathing air to a firefighter trapped in a smoke-filled space. One way to supply breathing air in an emergency is to connect an SCBA cylinder that you brought in with you to the downed firefighter's SCBA by the EEBSS or transfill connection. Another way to supply air is by disconnecting the low-pressure breathing tube from the down firefighter's regulator and connecting it to the regulator of a complete SCBA that you brought in with you. A third way is to disconnect the high-pressure air line from the down firefighter's SCBA cylinder and connect it to a spare SCBA cylinder that you brought in with you. A fourth way is to connect the hose from a supplied air respirator to the down firefighter's SCBA. If the situation dictates that it will be some time before the down firefighter can be removed from the toxic atmosphere, using a supplied air respirator may be the best choice. If a supplied air respirator is not available, firefighters will have to bring in spare SCBA cylinders to maintain a continuous air supply until the down firefighter can be moved to a clear atmosphere. Rescuing an unconscious or incapacitated firefighter dressed in full structural PPE and SCBA is much different than rescuing a civilian of equal size and body weight. One of the differences between a civilian and fully equipped firefighter is sheer weight. The protective ensemble for interior structural firefighting can add as much as 50 pounds to the firefighter's total weight, even more if the turnouts are wet. Another difference is the SCBA cylinder strapped to the down firefighter's back. With this equipment in place, it may be extremely difficult for you to grasp and hold the victim in the manner recommended for a two-person lift. Given the total weight of a fully equipped firefighter with SCBA and the difficulty of moving an unconscious adult, the traditional fireman's carry may be virtually impossible for you to perform. With an SCBA cylinder on his or her back, it may even be difficult for you to place an unconscious or injured firefighter in a litter. The easiest way is to lay the victim on his or her right side to reduce the chances of accidentally crimping the low-pressure breathing tube. Another way of dealing with the victim's SCBA cylinder is to leave the mask in place and remove the cylinder and backplate from the down firefighter's back, laying them on his or her abdomen in the litter. Because of the heat trapped in the upper portions of the space, you should use rescue techniques that allow you and the victim to remain on or near the floor. Among these techniques is the blanket drag. In this and other drag techniques, it is best to keep the victim on his or her right side as you pull them to safety. Another basic rescue technique is the one or two person drag. As in the blanket drag, place the victim on his or her right side as you pull them by their SCBA shoulder straps. To keep the victim's SCBA from slipping up on his or her torso in any drag or lift that uses the SCBA harness as the pulling point, it may be necessary for you to convert the SCBA harness into an improvised rescue harness. To convert an SCBA harness into an improvised rescue harness, unbuckle the victim's waist strap and fully extend each strap. Then pass one end under the victim and buckle the two straps together between the victim's legs. Tighten the straps until snug. One variation of the one or two person drag that leaves you with both hands free is to use a loop of webbing to pull the victim. First, connect the webbing to the victim's SCBA harness. Then place the other end of the loop over your shoulder. Another variation of the one or two person drag that can be useful in narrow passageways is the push-pull technique. One rescuer pulls on the victim's SCBA harness as another rescuer pushes the victim's body forward. If you have to move a litter-borne victim through a narrow passageway or up or down stairs, it may be necessary for you to pull the litter with an attached length of rope or webbing, while another rescuer assists by pushing the other end of the litter. The rope or webbing can be attached to the litter in several ways. If you're using a length of rope, it can be attached by tying a bowline or figure-8 follow-through. If you're using a length of webbing, you can attach it by tying a clove hitch secured with an overhand safety. Or, if the rope or webbing already has a loop in the end, you can use a carabiner to attach it to the litter. If a litter is not available and you must move a victim up or down stairs by yourself, you can simply pull the victim by his or her SCBA harness. Again, it will be easier and the victim's SCBA will be less likely to get caught on the stair treads if you keep the victim on his or her right side as you pull them to safety. If a second rescuer is available, he or she can lift the victim's legs as you pull on the SCBA harness. If a firefighter has fallen through a floor into a space where the normal access is unavailable, some means of rescuing the firefighter must be found. If the fallen firefighter is conscious and unhurt, you can extend a ladder down to him. An alternative is to throw down a length of rope or webbing with which to hoist the firefighter up. If the rope or webbing doesn't have a loop in the end, the firefighter can tie one in it. If a hose line is available, it can be used instead of a rope or webbing. Call for the line to be shut down at the pump so that it can be drained. Lower the nozzle down to the firefighter and let him or her open it and drain enough water to make the hose manageable. The firefighter then folds the hose back on itself to form a large loop at the bottom. He or she then places one foot in the loop and the crew above pulls him or her up. If the fallen firefighter is unconscious or seriously injured, it will be necessary to extricate him or her from the space. First, enlarge the hole in the floor. Next, stabilize the floor surrounding the opening to reduce the chances of it falling through with a rapid intervention team member. To stabilize the floor, interior doors can be quickly removed and placed on the floor at the edges of the opening. If conditions allow, place a ladder through the opening to gain access to the space below. While there are other ways to extricate the firefighter, one of the best ways is to package him or her in a litter and haul it up a ladder. In this program, you have seen Rapid Intervention Team Interior Operations. We showed how a Rapid Intervention Team functions inside the hazard zone at structure fires. We saw how Rapid Intervention Teams locate firefighters in distress. We showed how to perform an initial assessment of a downed firefighter. We saw how to address air supply considerations for trapped firefighters. And we showed a variety of techniques for rescuing firefighters in distress. Firefighters are accustomed to responding to calls for help from members of the public. Firefighters are not accustomed to responding to calls for help from fellow firefighters. But when firefighters are lost or disoriented, or if sudden and unexpected events put them in distress, they need help immediately. If you are assigned to a rapid intervention team, you must know what to do if called and be ready to act without delay. The life of a fellow firefighter may depend on you.